Yeah, Malika, both sides are saying that progress is happening, even if it's a little bit slower than we would all like. And I know a lot of people probably have questions about, is the season going to happen? What does this mean about the prospects of the season happening? And I do think it's important to note that it feels like we are on track to have a WNBA season this year. The real question is just exactly how much will the schedule have to be adjusted because...
Look at that body language. Alexa Philippe just admitted on national television at 3 in the morning that the commissioner doesn't know if training camp will start on time. Training camp is supposed to begin April 19th. We're talking about a league that just signed a $2.2 billion media rights deal, and they can't tell you if the season's happening. That's not negotiations. That's chaos.
Earlier, after nearly 100 hours of face-to-face talks over the past week, the WNBA and its union is not expected to meet today. The holdup remains revenue sharing, though progress has been tangible. Well, unfortunately, over at Sports Business Journal, this article is behind a paywall, so I can't get to it.
Here's what happened. Tom Friend from Sports Business Journal reported the WNBA and its union weren't meeting today after nearly 100 hours of negotiations. The holdup, revenue sharing. But then something bizarre happened. 2 hours later, the same journalist posted an update saying they are meeting. Same day, same source, completely contradictory reports. You want to know what that tells you? Nobody knows what's actually happening behind those closed doors.
The WNBA and WNBPA are believed to be over 4% apart on the split of revenue shares, sources told SBJ Tuesday. All right, this was in the article. Likely to pause, revenue sharing still a holdup. Well, then Annie Constable came back and said the WNBA and WNBPA are meeting today for an 8th consecutive day of negotiations.
Now check this out. Sports Business Journal put this article behind a paywall, but the subtitle leaked through Google search. The two sides are reportedly 4% apart on revenue sharing. 4%, that's the gap between a full season and potentially losing games that networks already paid for. Think about that math for a second. The league just secured $200 million per year in media rights. 4% of that is $8 million annually. That's what's holding up the entire season.
Okay, so that's...
Okay, so Alexa's saying there with Malik Andrews that, you know, she thinks there's going to be a season. Now, the WNBA, and I talked about this yesterday, you officially got a perception problem. And if you got a perception problem with people like me and people that watch this channel, you certainly have a problem with the players' union. What is that problem?
And this is where the league's credibility problem gets worse. They've set multiple deadlines and blown through every single one. Terry Carmichael Jackson, the union president, already said publicly that she thinks the league's deadlines are arbitrary and meaningless. When your negotiating partner openly admits they don't take your deadlines seriously, you've lost all leverage, you look weak, you look toothless. And if people like me watching from the outside think you look weak, imagine what the players' union thinks.
So what is Adam Silver, and again, when's Adam Silver going to enter the chat in here? Because I continue to believe if he comes in person, walks into that meeting, that he's going to carry a lot more weight. Because at the end of the day, he's Kathy Engelbert's boss. And I don't know about you guys, but if I got a problem, I don't want to talk to you. I want to talk to your boss. That's the one I'm wanting to talk to, because they're what, guys?
Here's the question nobody's asking. Where is Adam Silver? The NBA commissioner is Kathy Engelbert's boss. He's the decision maker. And right now, with training camp 11 days away and no deal in place, he's nowhere to be seen in these negotiations. When you've got a problem you can't solve, you don't keep talking to the same person. You go to their boss, the person who can actually make decisions. The players' union knows this. They're waiting for someone with real authority to walk into that room.
You look weak. I understand. Maybe they think they're so close that it's like, why strike? Why lock out? Maybe both sides are looking that way. But again, your deadlines don't mean anything. They look toothless. They look harmless. Right? I said I also have a theory that they have decided that training camp, that you can lose some training camp. That they're just going to saw off some training camp in order to get this deal done and for there to be a full season. They can't lose one game. If they lose...
Now let's talk about what happens if they lose games. Not training camp days, actual games. Those preseason games last year with Caitlin Clark drew massive ratings. The Brazil exhibition game was a huge draw for ESPN. Networks just committed $2.2 billion over 11 years because they believe in these ratings. You think Disney's going to be okay with losing games they already sold advertising for? Every game lost means money flowing back to the networks or scrambling to add advertising inventory to other games. And you can't add inventory if the games don't exist.
No, they're not going to be okay with that. You're not going to be okay with that at all. You know? So, and then, by the way, you know what happens? The league has to start funneling money back over to the network. Either that or they got to work out somewhere, somehow, some way, you can get added advertising in other games. But how do you do that if you literally lose the games?
The perception problem extends beyond just looking weak on deadlines. Fans are already checking out. People who were excited about watching Caitlin Clark this season are now saying they're done with the league entirely. They watched the injury controversy drag on for 3 months last year with no clear answers. They watched players get targeted on the court while the league did nothing. And now they're watching millionaire athletes hold up a season over 4% while regular people would kill for their minimum salary. The goodwill is evaporating.
Game, if there's a whatever, and I contend they've already lost some viewers over this. Because a lot of people are like, the hell with these players. They're being ridiculous. They're being unreasonable. I'm not going to watch this league anymore, even for Caitlin Clark. People are getting fed up. They got fed up a little bit last year, and some siphoned off when the whole injury situation was happening, and nobody knew exactly what to believe, and it was drug on for 3 months. I mean, that's so crazy.
Here's what I think is really happening. Both sides have already accepted that they're going to lose some training camp. They've made that calculation. They think they can sacrifice practice time to get the deal done and still have a full regular season. But that's a dangerous gamble. Training camp isn't just about conditioning. It's about integrating new players, installing systems, building chemistry. The Fever have a new coach. The Sparks have a completely rebuilt roster. You think those teams can just skip preparation and be ready for opening night? And here's the thing about these marathon negotiation sessions that nobody's talking about. Over 90 hours locked in meetings since last Tuesday sounds impressive until you realize they're still 4% apart. That's not progress. That's two sides dug into positions, going through the motions, waiting for someone to blink. Alexa Philippe said both sides believe progress is happening even if it's slower than everyone would like. That's PR spin. Progress would be closing the gap. They're having the same argument for 90 hours straight. The real deadline isn't April 19th when training camp starts. The real deadline is whenever the networks decide they've had enough uncertainty and start making noise about the deal they just signed. Because here's what people forget. That $2.2 billion agreement has performance clauses. It has expectations about content delivery. You think Amazon and ESPN are going to stay quiet if games start disappearing from the schedule they already built? Think about the position this puts everyone in. Players want 50% revenue sharing. The league's offering something in the mid-40s. That 4% gap represents real money, but it also represents something bigger. It's about respect. It's about whether players trust the league's financial reporting. Because revenue sharing only works if both sides agree on what counts as revenue. And right now, there's clearly disagreement about the math. Terry Carmichael Jackson has been smart about this. She hasn't backed down, she hasn't blinked at the deadlines. She knows the league needs this season more than the players do. Most WNBA players make more money overseas anyway. They can sit out a season and be fine financially. But the league just sold a massive media rights package based on momentum and growth. Missing games or losing a season would be catastrophic for franchise valuations and future negotiations. That's why Adam Silver's absence is so glaring. He should be in that room right now, not on a video call, not sending messages through intermediaries, physically in the room. Because when he walks in, everyone knows the real negotiations begin. Everything happening now is posturing. It's middle management going through motions until someone with actual authority shows up to close the deal. The league keeps emphasizing how many hours they've spent negotiating, like that's supposed to impress people. You know what would impress people? A deal. Results matter, not effort. Nobody cares that you sat in a room for 90 hours if you come out still 4% apart. That's not dedication, that's dysfunction. And meanwhile, the clock keeps ticking. April 19th is 11 days away. Training camps need at least 2 weeks to properly prepare teams for the season. Every day without a deal means more preparation time lost. It means players reporting out of shape. It means coaches unable to install systems. It means opening night games that look sloppy and unprofessional. And when those games air on national television to audiences who just heard about Caitlin Clark, what do you think happens to those ratings? Here's the part that should terrify the league. They're not just risking this season, they're risking the momentum they've built. Last year was supposed to be the breakthrough. Record attendance, record ratings, massive media deal. But if they stumble now, if they lose games or the product looks bad because teams weren't prepared, all that momentum evaporates. And in sports, momentum is everything. You don't get second chances at cultural moments. The Players' Union understands this leverage. That's why they're not panicking about deadlines. They know the league has more to lose. They know the networks are watching. They know franchise owners who just valued their teams based on that media deal are sweating right now. So they're holding firm on that 4%, waiting for the league to realize that paying it is cheaper than the alternative. So where does this end? Eventually, someone's going to make a phone call to Adam Silver. Probably already has, and he's going to have to decide whether to let his hand-picked commissioner keep struggling or step in and close this deal himself. My guess? He steps in within the next 72 hours. Because the NBA doesn't miss games over 4%, and the NBA isn't going to let its investment in the WNBA crater over something this fixable. But here's what bothers me about all of this. The fact that it got to this point. The fact that deadlines became meaningless. The fact that we're 11 days from training camp with no deal in place. That's a failure of leadership on both sides. The league should have started these negotiations months ago. The union should have engaged earlier instead of waiting until the last minute. And now everyone's scrambling, hoping they can pull a deal together before the whole thing collapses. Tell me what you think is going to happen here. Does Adam Silver step in and save this? Do they actually lose games? Or do they somehow pull a deal together in the next week and pretend like this chaos was all part of the plan? Drop your prediction in the comments. And if you're still subscribed to this channel after everything that happened last year, I appreciate you. Hit that like button if you want me to keep covering this story as it develops, because something tells me we're just getting started.